Hi, I'm Dave Mulvey, and welcome to our webinar. I'm the founder of A&P. Today, our webinar is going to be about why the cloud and why right now. A little bit about A&P. We're a Philadelphia-based managed IT service supplier that's very cloud-first oriented. We're focused on Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Azure Cloud. Our client security is our most important concern, and we work on it very hard to ensure they do not get ransomware or encrypted. We've been doing this since 1984. We support small and medium businesses throughout the Delaware Valley, ranging in size from 20 PCs up to 500 PCs. Here's what we're going to talk about today. What's driving everyone towards the cloud? What happens if you decide not to adopt to go towards the cloud? Is your business cloud ready right now? Cloud transformation tips for businesses of all sizes, and then we're going to give you a real-world client example. But first, a history lesson. I think sometimes if we look back on history, it can inform the future for us. And in particular, we're going to talk about four industries. My industry, the IT industry. We're also going to look at bookstores, CD stores, and video rental stores. Let's take a look at the music industry first. You know, once Napster and iTunes started to sell music by the song instead of by the album, everyone stopped buying albums, and Sam Goody went out of business. And the reason Sam Goody went out of business is it was easier for someone to stream music as a paid new service rather than going to the mall and leafing through CDs. The same thing happened in the publishing industry. You know, the minute Amazon started publishing books on a Kindle electronically, Borders went bankrupt, and Barnes & Noble responded with the Nook, maybe a little too late though. And now audiobooks are typically the way you buy books in the country today. Let's take a look at the movie industry. I know my family, and I bet yours too, you go to Blockbuster on the weekends and grab a movie or two that you were going to rent and watch over the weekend, and then return the beginning of the following week. Well, once our cable companies and Netflix started delivering movies electronically, you know, Blockbuster went bust. Streaming video services have just taken over that industry. And we could look at other industries too. So there's three things that took place here historically that I think if we look at from a history perspective, it's definitely going to inform the future for us. The first is the way people want to acquire or purchase goods and services is changing. You know, instead of going to malls or going to brick and mortar stores, everybody wants to do it online right now. And so that acquisition is having a horrible impact on the retail industry, but it's nothing that can be ignored. And if you're a retailer and you're ignoring that right now, you're definitely doing it at your own peril. The next is the way people want to use their goods and services is changing. You know, they want to be able to do stuff on multiple devices, whether it's their PC at work or their laptop at home or their iPhone in the car. They want to be able to use the stuff that they've purchased in lots of different ways, not just in a single way. And once everything in an industry starts to be available to be delivered electronically, the incremental value of distribution, of going to a store, it literally falls to zero. And brick and mortar stores cost a lot to run from an employee perspective, from a rent perspective. Well, the same three things are now happening in IT. The way you acquire IT, the way you want to use your IT, and the fact that it can be delivered electronically is changing everything in the IT business. Let's take a look back in history from the Industrial Revolution perspective. You know, the way things started, when people wanted to build a factory, they put it next to a river because they needed a water wheel to turn across the water to power the machines that were in the factory. And the minute electricity showed up, it changed everything. It was a game changer because now a factory didn't need to be near a river. It could be anywhere because it would just connect to the grid. And then, of course, once computing power kicked in, that too helped fuel the Industrial Revolution to where we find ourselves today, where everything is based on the internet. So let's fast forward to today. The same revolution is taking place today throughout the country. And everything and everyone is now connected to the internet. And imagine the internet being the new grid that covers the earth. You know, it used to be electricity that changed the Industrial Revolution. Well, it's internet that's changing how we work and how IT works today. You know, there's a massive increase in what you can do with information in your own pocket. You know, it's unbelievable what we can do with our phones, our cell phones, what we can do with our laptops or our PCs at home. And, you know, this time it's not electricity. This time it's internet. And the internet is like a utility. And we're going to get a little more into that. Also, when the COVID happened and the pandemic really accelerated a work from anywhere kind of approach. I know here at A&P, we had an office, we had servers in it, we had employees in it, and the minute COVID happened, we had to pivot and make sure everyone could work from home and get every application that they used to be able to get in the office to be able to get from home. And so this digital revolution has changed everything. And because now work from home is the norm, devices are multiplying and they're affordable. You know, it used to be I would give an employee a $2,000 laptop. Well, today my employees are working at home on tablets that cost $200-300 because all they need is a browser. Internet access is ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and it's also cheap. And that's making a huge difference because back when electricity really drove the Industrial Revolution, well, internet's driving the new modern office transformation. Most small and medium businesses right now that have line of business applications they rely on. Many of those line of business applications that used to run on servers in their own building are now have a software as a service version, kind of a cloud app version of the line of business product. And these new SaaS apps or cloud apps are easily accessible over the internet, you know, using a couple $100 tablet. All the user needs is a browser, and many knowledge workers that used to have to work at work because they needed a $2,000 PC, they needed a LAN connection to a server, can now work at home on personal devices because of software as a service versions of applications. At the same time that's happening from a line of business transformation perspective, Microsoft, that's been running Office 365 and now Microsoft 365 license subscriptions, has been building data centers like crazy. And these Azure data centers are all around the world right now, and they keep building them larger and larger. So a major disruption has happened to IT for small and medium businesses while you weren't paying attention. And pretty much now I want to talk about what are the business drivers. We just talked about some of the tech reasons of things that have changed. Let's talk about business reasons, though, why there's a major transformation taking place. And I guess the first thing is that everything is delivered as a service. The focus is on the user. It's no longer focused on the device. It kind of doesn't matter what device you have anymore. It's really about the user experience. And instead of having to buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of servers and on-premise applications and $2,000 workstations and PCs, now all you do is pay for what your company consumes. You pay for what you use. You don't have to buy a lot of stuff before you even start using it. And we go right back to this utility-based pricing model that much like electricity, much like water or energy or internet. You just pay for what you consume. And the new cloud approach is oftentimes the same cost as your old on-premise approach. So these are huge disruptions that are occurring in the SMB business section of IT. But there's more. You can convert from a capital expenditure approach to an operating expense approach. So instead of writing big checks every 3 to 5 years to replace servers and LAN equipment in your building, now you can just rent the equipment and the software month to month to month. It's very consistent pricing. It's much less expensive and is much easier on the corporate budget. At the same time, we can also transfer IT risk that a small and medium business used to assume, operating a PC or operating a server. having to cool the server, having to back up the server, having to make sure, harden the server that it was secure, having to back up and test backups on the server. We get rid of all of that risk and transfer that, push it right back over to Microsoft and let them worry about backups, let them worry about patching, let them worry about upgrading the software. And it gets rid a lot of the hassle of IT for small and medium business. And essentially, a small business now can receive the same quality IT that a Fortune 1000 firm can have. I want to take a look at a customer. This is a longtime customer of ours. It's an insurance agency that's really focused on growing. They're not interested in managing their IT. You know, they want to sell insurance and they want to support their customers. And they're growing quickly. They're growing at 25% a year, and they want to preserve every dollar they're making so they can hire more people. You know, more back office support and more salespeople. So remote working is really part of their culture. They have all of their people working at home. They no longer have an office. And so they have to make sure that everything's working great for all their employees, even though they're remote. You know, to sum it up, they just want IT to work. You know, they kind of want their IT to disappear because what they're doing is already hard enough, and they don't need IT challenges. So what does A&P do to help them, and what does that look like? Well, the first thing we do is we implement Microsoft 365 Business Premium licenses for $20 a user per month. We got rid of all the 7 of their on-premise servers, and either we migrated them to Microsoft 365 apps to turn off servers, or to SaaS apps for their line of business. And because we've moved over to SaaS, all they need is a browser right now at home. They literally can use a small tablet PC. And their line of business app, they weren't happy with the SaaS version of the app that was being offered, and so we moved their on-premise version of their line of business app right up into Azure. It's running in a server in Azure. It's no longer running in a server hosted by in their own firm. And we've implemented the whole Microsoft cybersecurity stack. So we've locked down users, we've locked down devices, we've locked down data, and we've locked down geography. So any way a bad guy tries to get into the network, we're really locking them out of it. And this client's going to spend 70% of what they were budgeted to spend had they remained on-prem. So this has been a big win for them, and they're never going to buy another server. So what have we learned from our customers that have migrated to the cloud? Well, I can tell you this. Users love working at home. They love working on their own devices. And when you have a happy employee, you have a productive employee. Users still need help desk support from us, but they need less of it because there's less things to worry about. Now we just have to worry about the PC, and we have to worry about a browser. And as I mentioned earlier, their cyber security has radically improved. We've been able to do a much better job of protecting the company, the employees, and their data. And uptime in the cloud is much greater than doing IT yourself because, frankly, there's less stuff to break. And the truth is, Microsoft can run servers in a data center 1,000 times better than A&P or you can on-premise. So, you know, looking at some other things that we've learned, I mentioned to you before, that businesses pay only for the IT they consume. It's utility based. So you never have to buy more than you need. And it gives you the opportunity to scale up or scale down. Maybe you're a manufacturing firm, and when you get busy, you hire more people in the factory and you scale up. Things slow down, you lay people off, and you scale back down. Or perhaps you have a seasonal business where there's a couple of months where you get really busy. We can scale up licensing, get everyone on board, and then when you slow back down again, remove those licenses so you're not paying for IT that you don't need. At some point, every line of business app is going to become a software as a service app. As I mentioned here at A&P, our line of business app does have a software as a service cloud app version, but it's not fully featured compared to our on-premise version. So we pulled it out of our building, we moved it up, migrated it up into Microsoft Azure, and it's going to run there for a year or two until we're happy with how the software as a service product has matured, and then we'll migrate right out of Azure, stop paying monthly rentals on the server in Azure, and we'll flip it right over to a cloud app. And again, we're never going to buy a server again, and right now we're just renting a couple of servers until the SaaS apps mature. So cloud computing is far more secure than on-premise computing. It's simpler, there's less to worry about. So how does AMP do this for our customer? We do it with something we call the Secure Cloud Advantage Service Package. And essentially, we have a dedicated team of Microsoft Cloud experts that can help migrate, manage, and support your entire 365 and Azure environment. And this includes getting you on Teams, getting your file server turned off and into SharePoint, turning off your local Exchange server and getting onto Exchange Online. That's just a couple of things we're going to do. We'll also offer strategic planning to you and provide an IT roadmap with a 3-year budget, so you know exactly when costs are coming up and how to prepare for them. And it makes it so much easier to plan for your IT. We're also going to lifecycle manage everything in your environment, so your LAN, your firewall, your Wi-Fi. We'll keep an eye on it, and after 5 years or so, and we're no longer getting security updates on the product, we'll migrate you into a new platform. We provide ongoing user training, so the minute we turn on Teams or SharePoint or Exchange Online, we're going to offer training to you, and that training can be on-premise, that can be remotely done, so that all your employees understand how to use all these great new features. So essentially, we're implementing and doing proactive management of the whole Microsoft 365 security stack. And that includes really deploying cybersecurity best practices across the board in your company to really ensure that ransomware and the cyber criminals can't get at your data. We're going to implement multi-factor authentication, so your user needs more than just a user ID and password. They need a third multi-factor to be authenticated, and that factor could be a text message in their cell phone that they accept or deny if they're trying to log in. It could be a fingerprint reader, it could be a face scanner, you name it. But it has to be something they have, not just something they know. And we're also going to implement cloud-based backups, so God forbid your building burns down, or God forbid someone encrypts data in your office, there's always going to be a backup that the bad guys can't get at, that we can rely upon to back up and recover your data. And on top of all this, we're going to put security alerting and monitoring, so if anything goes sideways, we're going to know about it and get right on it for you. And then finally, we're going to teach you how to run a cyber incident plan, teach all your employees how to do it, so if they sense something's going sideways, we can quickly limit the damage. So this has been pretty quick, but you can see as a small, medium business owner why you might want to take a harder look at cloud computing. I think it'll save you time, it'll certainly make you more secure, it'll certainly make your employees happier, and we'd love to talk to you about it. Again, I'm Dave Mulvey, I'm the founder. Andrea Granger is also available. We're here to help. We love to talk to people. If you just have questions, reach out to us at connect@amp.net or 215-572-0111. Hey, we'd love to hear from you, and thanks for hanging in here for the whole webinar. Have a great day.